Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. I am so excited for our topic today. Okay, it's a topic that I feel like honestly some people don't like to talk about. Yes, it is submission. Submission. And I get to go ahead and share how I feel about submission after 5 years of being married. So, let's go ahead and just talk about a little bit about submission. So when I think about submission, I actually think about literally getting under the mission of your husband, right? And your husband needs to be under the mission of the Lord, right? So in many ways, it's like God's leading your household, and because you are honoring God and you are already under the submission of God, and your husband's already under the submission of God, now it's okay for you to be under the protection of the role that the husband is supposed to be able to play, which is around leading the household. And I think it's actually a really beautiful thing. I didn't always think like that. I think when we were courting, for the most part, like I was okay, but then just the worldly understanding of submission was like, it was like kind of scratching to my ears, But then when I understood the biblical understanding of submission, I was like, oh, this actually is like not bad. You're telling me that my husband's role is around serving me and like making my life easier. Wow, I can get behind that. You're telling me that my husband's supposed to be following what God says, and because he's following what God says, that means he's also under submission, so I'm basically also submitting to what God wants as well. Like I can do that. You're telling me that submission doesn't mean that he's controlling me, but instead he's serving me, so that means he's listening to me. Again, he wants to make my life easier. He wants to be in a place of servant leadership to me, and we're actually able to make decisions together, and we take it to the Lord together. Oh, okay, like I can get on board with this, okay? So submission is not this like dreadful thing. That's what I've learned over the years. To be completely honest, I'll say over the last 5 years, I've been able to see that I think submission has gotten easier, and it's also gotten harder. I think it's gotten easier because there are places where I'm like, okay, like it's easy to just be like, okay, anyone that knows me knows that like I have an opinion on pretty much anything, right? But I've learned to let go, and I think that that's actually resulted in less stress over my life, It's like, okay, you want to do that? Okay, that's fine with me. Okay, and I think that that's been helpful. In that sense, it's like allowed my life to get easier, so I'm not like sweating the small stuff too much. In many ways with submission though, I would say that God's worked with me on different levels. Like submission is like on different levels. That's what like God's revealed to me after 5 years of marriage. And I remember when we first got married, little like small things would sometimes like I would want control over. So it was like really stupid stuff about like, let's say the toilet paper, for example. Like I like the toilet paper on the outside, like the hotel, and like make it like a triangle thing, so that if like what I mean, like the toilet paper and then the roll is kind of on the outside, but instead of it being like square how it normally is, you essentially like fold it into being a triangle, like how it is in like some of the fancy hotels. I really like that. Anyway, that's like super small. I didn't notice until we got married that Anthony just kind of flip-flops the toilet paper however, like most people, right? Most people are not like, oh my gosh, the toilet paper has to be like one way, right? Like that's just like not how it is. He had it on the inside. I was just noticing, I was just like, ooh, I want to change it. But then I thought about it, and it's just like, girl, like you need to be able to respect him enough, like to honor the fact that he even put the toilet paper there to begin with, okay? Like this is not something that you have to control or manipulate. Let it go, right? So it was in like small things like that, or like maybe he left, in our first year, I remember in the first month, it was the toilet paper and it was the pots. He left pots in the refrigerator. And I was like, you're not supposed to leave pots in the refrigerator. You're supposed to put it in Tupperware. And then you're supposed to put the pots away and like all of that stuff. Like, who says that? Like, who cares? Who cares? Is that threatening your life? No, it is not. Are you still gonna live? Yes, you are. That simple. So I had to submit to being like, I don't need to control the situation. It is not the end of the world. And I'm grateful for a husband who is cooking, who is also intentional about not allowing the food to go to waste and putting it in the fridge. Who cares how he puts it in the fridge? It doesn't matter. It doesn't make it any less edible to eat, and it's not sacrificing our life, right? So again, just being intentional about kind of submitting onto my husband, and that not complaining in my heart, right? Not complaining to him, and just really just submitting to the way that he does things and being like, okay, like that's fine. I don't need to control or manipulate the situation. So I think in the first year, I was finding submission kind of more so on things that like I needed to stop nitpicking about, right? And I was also realizing something that God also revealed to me was, are you submitting to him when he's gone? So there was a time where he put like the pillows in a different way than like what I normally would put them as. And it's like, the Holy Spirit checked me on like not changing them, for example, to the way that I wanted them to be. Again, is it the end of the world? No. Is it killing anybody? No. Is it life-threatening? No. I'm grateful to have a husband that made the bed and that put the pillows on, even though he didn't want those pillows anyway, right? So I'm going to submit to the way that he did things. I'm going to honor him in the way that he showed up for our household, right, when he didn't need to. So in that, I'm going to relinquish the desire to control. I'm going to relinquish the desire to manipulate the situation. It's not that big of a deal. And I'm going to show him my love, my grace, and my honor of the fact that he did that, right? He did that act of service so I wouldn't have to, right? So what I was noticing in my first year of marriage was just, again, the desire to control some of those small things that really don't matter. And I would say after 5 years, it's so easy. And by so easy, I mean it's a lot easier, right? Sometimes I'll be like, ooh, the pillow. I'll be like, no, Marlysa, nah, it ain't that big of a deal, you know? And now I don't care about how the toilet paper is, y'all. I don't care about the pots. I don't care about a lot of stuff, okay? Because I have to ask myself, is this a life-threatening thing? And at this point, because it's been so long, I don't actually have to ask myself that, but there maybe are like once in a blue moon, like times where I'm like, ooh, I want to kind of do it this way. And it's just like, no, you have to honor what he's already done, right? So in that sense, I'll say that submission has gotten easier over time because now it's just kind of a natural reaction of like my heart to appreciate and fully love the fact that he has tried and he has succeeded in making my life easier in certain ways. He might do it differently, and that's fine. It's important for me to respect that, not change that. Over the last 5 years, I've also realized that submission is a heart issue, right? So there have been times where I have been like more performative of like, ooh, I'm supposed to respect you right now. Okay, you know, but it's taken like all of like myself to like respond in that way. And it's just like, girl, like, why does it take so much? Well, it's because it's a heart issue, because really at the core of it, you want to change the situation. That's just what it boils down to. So being really intentional about having faith in God enough to know that God has the ultimate say, and that if I put my trust in God, that everything will be okay. And also too, my husband has shown me that I can trust him, right? I can trust him. He has earned my trust. He has been loyal. He has been faithful. He has been true to his word. All of these different things where it's just like, I can easily trust you. And even though I may not see it right now, if you see it, I trust you. I trust you. And I know that because you're a man of the Lord, that you are going to be intentional about hearing God too. Okay. So again, it's just basically a heart issue with, a lot of the times it's a heart issue. So being really intentional about, like right now, I've been really studying what a gentle and quiet spirit looks like. And that has really taught me that it's a heart issue. It is. Like, how are you revering God? How are you operating in faith to God? Because submission requires faith to God. Like, it really does. And I've noticed that as I've let go of things and as I've pressed into God more, that my level of peace goes up, which allows me to submit in a way where I'm desiring to submit, as opposed to thinking of it like a task. So again, just like, God really cares about our heart, our heart for everything. And submission is no different. How is your heart? And that brings me to my last thing that I've learned, which is that submission also requires trust in the Lord. Trust in the Lord. I've really appreciated understanding the fact that submission is about trusting the Lord, that the Lord will keep you and the Lord will keep your husband as you all are making decisions. It's also about trusting your husband. And for me, it's easier to trust my husband because he's proven himself trustworthy. For husbands out there, I'd say be trustworthy by being consistent. Consistency will win your wives over when it comes to them being able to trust you, them being able to respect your decision making, all of these different things. And also the way that Anthony has done his decision making, where it's not just him, right? He involves me, he centers me, he wants to hear from me. We make it together. Like, I appreciate that. And he's doing so in a way where it's just like, if he's called to lead and be a servant leader, he wants to hear from the person he's supposed to serve and lead, who is me. So I really appreciate that. And again, that has allowed me to also increase my level of trust for him and his leadership as well, which has in turn allowed it to be easier to submit. And for me to submit in a way where I'm not just doing it in a performative way, I'm doing it from a way that really speaks to my heart's posture towards him and towards